Chapter 1044 has officially broken the internet. Kaido has knocked the Joyboy into Luffy. Toon Force Luffy, 1044, Sun God Nika, these are all trending topics right now. Peak fiction is a phrase just being thrown around the timeline, and this chapter added so many implications and theories to the One Piece community. And really my only complaint would be that I wish that Oda would have put the Hiyori and Orochi stuff towards the beginning, because it would have been so much more hype to see 10 straight pages of Luffy and Sun God Nika instead of detouring towards the middle. I've always loved Luffy's Devil Fruit, but now this ability will truly change One Piece forever. Today I'm here to tell you why this is Oda's biggest flex in the history of One Piece. This chapter has got my mind rolling on theories including Dr. Vegapunk, God Valley, Kaido, and most importantly, Who's Who in Shanks. So stay tuned to the end of the video because we have so much to talk about. And by the way, there will be spoilers of the chapter 1044. Aside from Luffy's transformation, the Gordose's conversation about Zoan Devil Fruits will change One Piece forever. In chapter 1044, the Gordosei are speaking about Luffy's Devil Fruit, and it stated that the world government had been trying to acquire the Gomu Gomu no Mi for 800 years. It's almost as if the fruit itself has been evading us, and that's not impossible because all Zoan fruits have a will of their own, and this one carries the name of a god. After all, the Gomu Gomu no Mi is really a mythical Zoan, the human fruit model Sun God Nika. This confirms many things that have been speculated for so long. The Sun God silhouette was always a stringy, rubbery man with Snake Man-like hair. The idea of a liberator fits perfectly with Luffy, the great dreams of liberation beating as Luffy awakens his Devil Fruit. Luffy, who was liberating people for years, like in Alabasta, Skypiea, Dressrosa, and now in WANO. And so let's get into what everyone's here for, the theories. And we're starting with Dr. Vegapunk's failure. In Punk Hazard, we find out that Momonosuke ate a dragon devil fruit. We later find out about how it was the same devil fruit that Kaido has, a failed experiment to clone a mythical Zoan. During Wano, CP0 says that they are thankful that it was a failure. It's interesting that it was deemed a failure by the greatest mind in science, Dr. Vegapunk, but then recently we saw Momonosuke learn how to use the same fire cloud abilities to fly like Kaido. Yamato even says that their powers work the same way. So now with this chapter finding out that the Zoan devil fruits have the will of their own, I think this will be the reason that Dr. Vegapunk deemed this creation a failure. The biggest question was, how would Vegapunk know it was a failure if no one ate it and tested it for themselves? But now there might have been a way to sense that Momo's fruit does not have a will of its own. The idea of a will sounds similar to inherited will. A will being passed down through devil fruits might actually be possible now.
Anything's possible! Anything's possible!
There was also an elephant fruit that was fed to a sword, so how did Vegapunk do this? Could it be possible that it was the will of a Zoan that awakens within the object? Ever since Chopper was introduced, I've always wondered, what would happen if a human ate the human fruit? In this case, Luffy is a mythical Zoan, so it has a godlike quality. When we see characters like Crocus say that Luffy has a mysterious aura, it could be the aura of Nika that has been around him this whole time. A godlike aura could be sensed by these legends. If Luffy's always been able to bring happiness to people, it may be why so many people knew that he was the man that Roger was waiting for. I've always said that Luffy is the only character in the series who could be Joyboy, because the name Joyboy in itself is a prophecy or a description of what Luffy is, a man who brings joy and laughter. His childlike qualities fit perfectly with the Joyboy description, and Laugh-Tale being connected to Nika and Joyboy could also make so much more sense now. So once again, it begs the question, if a human eats a human fruit, it could make sense to why Luffy simply remains a human, but what would the hybrid form of a human who ate the human fruit be? And more food for thought would be, what if a fishman ate a human fruit? Or better yet, what if someone from the Oni race had ate the human fruit, or maybe a Lunarian? And what would their hybrid form look like? I've been thinking recently about the nature of Yamato's fruit. With the confirmation that Luffy has the Sun God fruit, let's think about the other deity, mythical Zoan, that has been recently introduced. What about the wolf, the mythical Zoan, the guardian deity of Wano? I'm talking about Yamato's Ino Inu no Mi, Okuchi no Makami. The similarities start with Shanks and Kaido, because Shanks acquired the devil fruit from attacking a government ship. Kaido makes it clear to point out how difficult it was to get his hands on Yamato's fruit. It's not clear what he had to do to get it, but it seems like he did have his eye on it for a reason, and there isn't that many people who can actually challenge Kaido and make it a difficult operation. So when we look at Luffy and Yamato, they were not intended to eat these fruits. Luffy simply ate it because it was in front of him, and Yamato ate it because she was hungry and it was right in front of her as well. The big question is, who does Shanks intend to give the fruit to? And this would be the perfect time to subscribe, because Wizard of Wars is currently working on a video discussing the possibility that Shanks intended Ace to be Joyboy. And for Kaido, I think it would be interesting if he intended to give it to King, and then Yamato ended up eating it, and then he settled to give King the ancient Ryu Nomi. Kaido says that he worked hard to get that devil fruit, and that it has ties to Wano as the mythical god fruit, the guardian deity of the place that he plans to rule. Even though he didn't intend on Yamato eating the fruit, he recognizes her power of Haki and her devil fruit abilities. Luffy, he ate a mythical zone, a god fruit just like Yamato, and it also has ties to Wano. We'll discuss Hyogoro later in the video, but he recognized the Gear 4 transformation as the power of the sun god, and we're talking about Wano, a country that has closed borders, no information is coming through, so at one point the sun god Nika was in Wano. Luffy represents the sun, and Yamato may represent the moon, because Luffy is quite literally the sun god Nika with the fiery hair, but Yamato could be the moon god. Let's just take a moment and think about what she is. She's a wolf, and a wolf can represent the moon, being that the wolves are known for howling at the moon in the middle of the night, and being a guardian deity of Wano, a country that has tons of moon symbolism. Every major clan except the Korizumi clan has the Suki or moon-based name. For example, Toki's name Amatsuki, which literally translates to the heavenly moon, and Shimotsuki, the clan of the frozen moon. So Yamato being a moon deity would be perfect, as she is the protector of the moon land. And this also goes with Toki's quote being the moon is unaware of the dawn concept, and Luffy being the sun that rises, as Yamato is the moon. And then you can think about the Minks, who are connected to Wano, and they also have a night and day guardian. And so now let's talk about Kaido's possible awakening within the next chapters. With Luffy's fruit finally awakening, will we see Kaido finally use his? It's something that I've always wanted to see, as two god fruits battling it out, and Kaido is a mythical dragon deity, Luffy being the sun god. So let me know in the comments, do you think Kaido will awaken his devil fruit within the next few chapters? And speaking of Kaido, let's talk about the Beast Pirates. With the Joyboy fruit being something that brings liberation, freedom, and hope and joy to all, it makes you wonder about the intentionality of the Smile fruits. The man looking for Joyboy having the twisted version of a forced smile. Luffy literally has the true Smile fruit, as Nika is also a smile. Kaido may have known that Joyboy was connected to the devil fruit for a long time, and so seeing Luffy in Gear 4, it may have been when Kaido first began thinking that Luffy was Joyboy. The liberation may symbolize Luffy's strength growing throughout his journey. As he saves more and more helpless people, his ambition to liberate has been growing more and more as well. At first, he starts out as a character who liberates his friends, but if you look at Dressrosa during the post-time skip, Luffy just enjoys saving people at this point. He has really grown to accept this as his role. He didn't have to go out of his way to save the kingdom, but he has an urge to do so. Does he know something about these zones that the Gorosei don't know? At this point, with the antagonist being a zone devil fruit user and having an entire crew of smiles and ancient zones and mythical zones, it does seem like the reveal that the Gorosei are speaking of will be important to uncovering Kaido's true motivation. Kaido is the character that is centered around willpower and his strong wills being shattered. An Oni can also be known as a demonic ghost, invisible beings, so these wills with the devil fruit could maybe play a part in Kaido's Oni and zone devil fruit obsession. And so now let's talk about Hyogoro and his possible lineage. We first saw Hyogoro mention the sun god. Luffy was connected to this being during the raid and the prison. The Gear 4 form was the key that made Hyogoro realize that this was sun god Nika. It makes me wonder if Hyogoro's lineage is connected to a past user of the Nika devil fruit, or maybe he is the lineage descendant of Nika himself. Hyogoro has a very interesting hair that looks like a flame, but when he goes into a buff mode, it's like a burning explosion. Very interesting with the sun god Nika comparison and Gear 5 awakening. He was the most interested in Luffy's god abilities, and he even refers to him as a guardian deity as well. And maybe Hyogoro's clan has the ability to expand their body. Hyogoro, like Luffy, is able to blow up his body in the All Might style. He shrinks down to one of the smallest humans in the entire series, and we also know that Luffy can blow himself up like a balloon, but he's also able to shrink into a chibi form. I do think it's likely that Nika is from Wano, or since it's Joyboy, maybe he was connected to Wano's history. Hiyori hinting that the Kozuki clan always keep their promises might be a hint at the promise made to Joyboy. This will be the truth to why Momonosuke says that he cannot die when reading Oden's journal. In the past, the Kozuki clan made a promise most likely to Joyboy to open the borders when he arrives. But it could also be a lot more than that since we've already known about opening the borders for a while. So now let's talk about God Valley and his possible connection to Sun God Nika. God Valley was first introduced during the WANO arc. It's very interesting to me that we get Lunarians, moon gods, they are introduced as well as Sun God Nika in this arc. I've made my theories in the past about Lunarians being tied to God Valley, but what if we look at this through another lens? We know that Big Mom gave Kaido his devil fruit during the God Valley incident, so let's consider the possibility that God Valley was home to the godly devil fruits. I speculated that Sengoku was possibly there, so maybe his Buddha fruit also came from this island. Kaido's dragon model, which is a Zoan deity, a god in Japanese culture, and what if Nika was also there, a god fruit from the God Valley, a sun god zone. We also know that the government was interested in Kaido's devil fruit, and we know the Godosei have confirmed that they have been trying to get a hold of the Nika fruit. These could have been the treasures that the Rock's crew was always after. If Joyboy was a sun god, then maybe God Valley was home to Joyboy, a castle where he ruled, or maybe has a connection to the One Piece in the same way that Big Mom said some of the One Piece is at Wano. This place that the government has always wanted to hide is possible that this was connected to the ancient kingdom. If you think about Whitebeard's ability, that is another godlike ability, creating tsunamis and earthquakes, having the power to destroy the world. Luffy's devil fruit was changed from the name Nika to the Gomu no Mi to hide the true nature of Joyboy and the godly-like power of the sun god. And this entire time, Luffy thought it was simply rubber, and it makes you wonder how the rest of the crew will find out and what their reactions will be. We can maybe get Momonosuke explaining this, or possibly Kaido. Another possibility is that Hyogoro, who seems to know enough about Sun God Nika, will explain everything. Besides the Gomu no Mi being a fake name, the other changed names was Goldie Roger, which was changed by Goldie Roger by the world government. Riley says, "Now I know why they wanted to hide your name." And finally, the name that is still being hidden to this day is Onigashima. Marco claims that Onigashima used to be called something else until Kaido changed it. Onigashima is the place where Joyboy emerges. Kaido literally knocked the Joyboy into Luffy. Kaido's name means Joyboy. Luffy is now Joyboy. Kaido, who created the Smile Fruit, and Luffy, who is the true owner of the Smile Fruit Nika. We have two gods facing off, and also you could look at it as God versus the devil, as Kaido is an Oni. Luffy is now a sun god, so does this push the theory of Luffy and Kaido fighting on top of Joyboy? Subscribe if you're interested in this theory, because Wizard of Wars has been going in on this theory for about 7 months straight. The name being changed fits perfectly with Luffy's devil fruit also being revealed in this arc, being changed by the government. Could Onigashima actually be Joyboy Island, where Joyboy finally arrives? At the very least, I'm hoping by the end of the Wano arc we learn what the name was for Onigashima before Kaido changed it. And then there's Laugh Tale, which was changed from Raft Tail, and Roger even named it that, so it could have had another name altogether. God Valley might have also been called something else if it does have a connection to the Void Century and Sun God Nika. And so now let's talk about the government conspiracy. During Who's Who and Jimbei's fight, we were revealed a government conspiracy in the One Piece world. A cover-up where Who's Who was sent out to prison for allowing Shanks to take the devil fruit. So he might have known the certain properties, because the Godosei specifically say that it's not impossible that Luffy's devil fruit was evading them. So Who's Who might have realized this himself, an aura of the sun god surrounding the fruit. When Who's Who was tortured, a prison guard told him about the sun god Nika, and so combined with this information about the devil fruit, this was way too much that he ever meant to know of. Similar to Doflamingo, who says that he will be assassinated and impaled down, Who's Who was fearful of his own life. Who's Who implies that the Godosei Epstein, the prison guard who told him about the story of Nika. The name was changed, and simply from knowing too much, Who's Who believed that they would come after him, so he did anything to escape. He asked Jimbei about his sun god Nika, and yeah, it's in a racist way, but I think there's also Oda not wanting to reveal anything too early. I believe that Jimbei learned many of the secrets of the sun god Nika from Fisher Tiger, who may have told him stories in the past. So when Jimbei is silent during this fight, it's Oda saving Jinbei's sun connection for the future. Since Joyboy and the Fishman have their past, it could be a passed on legend through history. Also, speaking of the changed names, Clover describes the name of the ancient kingdom as it promoted a certain ideology that would be a name that could oppose the world government. If Joyboy was Nika and that name was suppressed by the Godosei, it would be interesting to see if there is a connection there with the Dawn and the name of the ancient kingdom. Blackbeard and Luffy are now the perfect enemy for each other, the perfect foil being Blackbeard having the darkness power and Luffy having the power of the sun god, the manifestation and creativity. Luffy has no limits, only bound by his own mind. He can manifest anything into reality, into existence, but Blackbeard is the one who can go directly against Luffy, who has no limits as well. Because no matter what Luffy does, Blackbeard's darkness will cancel it out. Meanwhile, Blackbeard's darkness fruit might not have had an effect against Luffy. If Blackbeard directly has an effect against Nika, it could be the one reason why Blackbeard considered it the most powerful fruit, the power that could counter Joyboy himself. So when Whitebeard says, "Tease, you're not the one," Blackbeard might not even care, as he has the power that opposes the one chosen by fate. Blackbeard represents the darkness and Luffy is the light. Luffy liberates innocent people and Blackbeard's power destroys islands of innocent people, like in his clash against A's. These two devil fruits cancelling out could lead to a true hockey clash, two powerful ambitions and willpower. The more powerful will could be the deciding factor, and Blackbeard could still have the advantage here since he also has one more devil fruit ability up his sleeve, being that he stole Whitebeard's fruit. But at this point, Luffy might actually be able to reflect an entire wave of tsunami back at Blackbeard. I also wonder if Luffy's power grows during the day. Oda may be purposely showing us a fight during the night so he can expand on Sun God Nika's abilities even more in the day in the future. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. YouTube says that you'll enjoy one of these next two recommendations, so let's find out and see if they're right. Stay safe, have a great day, and see you next time.